Hey guys, welcome back to another DK podcast. It's your homegirl Joey. We are back with the second half of the recap of our first roundtable discussion. This is episode 26.2. In this episode, you have myself and my producer Justin. We will continue discussing all of the things that we discussed on our roundtable. And at the end of this episode, I have a special announcement about my parting. So stick around so you can find out what's going on. We'll see you at the end.
As we transition, talking about just like a design play, right? So that was one of the big things that came up. If you hang out with Seasons Williams, you'll hear her talk about that all the time. She talked about that on the panel, and she talked about the need. After we talked about housing and jobs and how it's all connected.
Yeah.
She talked about the need specifically to confront the design play. I can talk. So there were a couple of things she talked about. So the first thing she talked about, before that, she said, you have to understand that the system is designed to tear you down mentally, right? It starts here. So one of my favorite quotes is the shortest but longest distance to success is the space between your ears, right? So
like
your
that.
mentality, right? So she just gave us some steps and we were breaking that down. So the first thing she talked about is the importance of knowing your rights. So let's talk about that a little bit. Like, I've seen you eliminate lots of debt because you're willing to hit Google and know your rights.
Yes, absolutely. Google,
so let's talk about that a little bit.
All of that.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very important to know your rights. I know I keep referring back to like the post office and stuff like that, but you have to understand, I've been there for 10 years. And so it is a part of who I am. And I learned so much like working with the union and stuff like that, because I was a union rep for 6-7 of those 10 years. And so, knowing your knowledge, knowing your rights is very important. And I always have a lot of people coming up to me saying, hey, this is what's going on. What do you think? This is what's going on. Is that illegal? Is that right? Can they do this? Can they do that? You know what I mean? So I always have to be able to answer the questions. And if I can't answer the questions, I have to be able to go and do the research to figure out what the answers are. So with that being said, I had a boss by the name of Dave Dinkins. What's up, Dave? And he always preached to us, know your rights. Do your research. Know the contract in and out. Right? So if you don't know something, be willing to go find out. So I apply that to my life, and I advise and urge others to do the same. Know your rights. And if you don't know, whatever you don't know, be willing to go search and look. And if you don't have the mentality to be able to go search and look, ask somebody to help you. Because there are people who are locked up with you who are very brilliant, and they'll be willing to help you if you ask. You have to humble yourself, put your ego to the side, and ask questions. Seasons, she actually goes into the prisons and she speaks with the different men and women, and she encourages them to know their knowledge. She encourages them to find out information about their cases, about what's your plans when you come home, and how are you going to attack this? She gives them affirmations, things to help build you up. And yes, knowing your rights will help build you up, because then you won't fall for anybody telling you anything. You'll be like, no, that's not right. That's not right, because this is actually what it says and what it's talking about, what it leans to, like all of that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So the other thing she shared something, you got to know your rights. The other thing she talked about was master your case.
Yes.
So not just knowing your rights, but you have to master your case.
Yes.
So she talked about taking ownership, just like you said, of doing the due diligence of understanding your rights. But understanding your case or your situation. I've heard so many terrible stories about people taking pleas when they didn't need to.
Yep.
Or thinking that they were guilty and they weren't even close to being guilty, or like just small little technicalities. I have a friend, I won't say his name because I haven't had permission to speak on it. But he went away for a long time. We'll just leave it at that. And his pops actually left him in a room with an 8-ball. Crazy.
Oh yeah,
work,
I remember
right?
you was telling me this.
Yeah, and he couldn't do a lot of stuff So he was locked up, and his mom, she mortgaged the house. Yeah, like she took on a whole mortgage. I didn't even tell you this part.
No, you
She
didn't.
took on the house was debt free. She took on a whole mortgage just to fight for him legally, and he ended up because there was some other stuff that happened. Like I said, I can't speak on it too much, but he ended up having like football numbers. We're talking lineman numbers. You know what I mean? And there was just some technicality that the way they got the evidence against him, they didn't do it the right way, or they didn't. There was some real crazy technicality, and he got time served, and he came home, and he hasn't been back since. But like, you got to just know your case, and like. He was telling he switched attorneys 3 times. The first 2 they weren't willing to do. They was just trying to get him like, hey man, just take it on the chin, man. You got caught. You know what I mean? Maybe you can give up your sword. You know, all the stuff. And he wasn't with it. And that third luck's the charm. And he ended up doing well. So you really do need to master your case and understand these things when you go in. Another step she talked about was just proactive planning. So the legal process can be set up for future success. So understanding your situation and then taking advantage of those things. So I think Pastor Tom Mitchell even talked about this. He talked about the guy who went away to prison, and by the time he came out, he had like a PhD and like ended up working for like UCLA and like just like crazy stuff.
They bought
so
him
like
a car and everything.
All of that stuff. So you do have to be proactive in your planning. And then this idea of mental fortitude. So really understanding, as Season said, that the system is designed to break you down.
Yep.
I don't have the number with me right now, but one of the things I've done in my research is recidivism, right? So this idea, like a lot of people who come home go back because when they come home, they can't deal.
Right.
They can't deal with life.
Yeah,
so,
especially when you've been incarcerated for a long period of time.
Yeah.
That you're used to, 3 hots and a cot is what they call it. You're used to that. And so when you come home, you can't function in society because they do not rehabilitate you.
Yeah.
They don't teach you these things on how to come home, obtain a good job, get housing, so on and so forth. They just have you sitting there. It is up to you to rehabilitate yourself. Right? And then something that you had said when you were telling your story about your homeboy, about how he had to fire his attorneys because they didn't want to fight for him. They wanted him to play ball. And that's because, like Season said, it's all designed. Everybody's making money. Everybody's making money. And these attorneys, yeah, exactly. But these attorneys are buddy with the DA. They're buddy with the judge. They're all out here playing golf. They're all out here smoking cigars. They're all out here having drinks. Their families is partying at Christmas time together. They are friends, y'all.
Yeah.
They're all friends. Everybody is a friend but you. You're the only one that's left out the loop. So it's crazy that you're paying these people to be your mouthpiece, to be your face, and they're selling you up the river. And it's crazy when you got to go behind these people who have went to school for 7 years to defend you, that you have to go into the library and do your own research and come at them like, yo, what you mean? Why you listening to this? This don't even make sense. This because you know what I mean? Like it'd be crazy. Like they're trying to charge me to be a career criminal when I don't even fit the guidelines.
Yeah.
And I say that because my daughter's godfather, he ended up taking a plea deal for 10 years, but they were trying to charge him to be a career criminal when, again, he didn't even fall within the guidelines of it. But they were coming for him. And he also had to fire 2 of his lawyers that he paid $20,000+ to represent him. It was it's just absolutely crazy. So you have to be your own defense team on top of your defense team. Know your knowledge, know your rights. Do not sit here and let these people sell you up the river. Ask questions, do research, it's not the end just because they say it. Make sure it's the end before you sign off on them papers. I took a plea deal when I was in college for terroristic threats that I shouldn't have took because I didn't do it. Like, and I stand on that till this day. I did not threaten that person. I didn't do it. They lied on me and they bombarded me with these charges. I say what I will say is I did trespass. I was somewhere that I shouldn't have been, and that's the only charge that I should have got. But that terroristic threat, that was fugazi, and I didn't do it. And I'm going to keep saying I didn't do it till the day I die because I didn't do it. And I took a plea deal because of my mom. My mom, she was so like frazzled and just like, oh my God, oh my God. But, I was young and I didn't know no better. I was in college. It was was it my first year? It might have been my second year of college. But I didn't know, and I should have known. I should have known. I wish I would have known, and I wouldn't have never took that plea deal, but I did. And I did my time and I walked it off. You know what I'm saying? But it was something that I didn't have to have following me around, and thank God that when I did get in trouble for something that I actually did, my parole officer for the terroristic threat charge, he didn't violate me. He was like, I think I had like a couple months left on paper for that, and he was like, you ain't been in no trouble, you ain't been no problem, your pee been clean, like I'm done with you, like I'm signing the papers, I'm done with you on this aspect, and good luck with your new charges.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that because I know you don't often share all of that. So, for the record, she made a terroristic threat before I pressed record. Help! Help! Let's bring it back because it got real dark and heavy real quick. I was like, oh man! All right. So as we transition, we get ready to wrap it up. A couple other things we just want to share with you, as Joey was saying. We talked about just like this idea of being proactive and self betterment. So one of the things that these are just some quick tips. You can speak on these as we wrap this up. Okay. But taking initiative. So we really talked about that. One of the things you talked about is making sure people get their education, like GEDs.
Yes.
One of the quotes was, "You have to better yourself because that's the only way you're going to survive when you come out here."
Yes.
If you have the knowledge. So you just really talked about that. Building a resume. So even though you go away and you're in prison, you can still build your career.
Yep.
And that's actually a good time to do a 180 and change your career. So we talked about that a lot. Figure out what your niche is and build on it. Mm-hmm. I know the reason why you started Dreamcatchers is because of what you went through and because of how life has treated you since you've been out. And then now as a single mom, you see it all from all the different angles. And then, using her challenges, her pains, her inspirations, she's now created something that's impacting people. So we want to challenge you to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
One of the things we talked about as we get ready to wrap it up on this part is we talked about how it's just a cookie cutter system. Mm-hmm. And now the system takes a one size fits all approach. So yes. When you were on trial, for lack of better terms, the judge didn't throw the book at you because she looked at your life mm-hmm. and she saw something different in you. So could you talk about that a little bit and why it's important to not do the cookie cutter thing?
Yeah, she like you said, she looked over the pretrial stuff and she was just like how, and so with me not having like a whole bunch of stuff behind me from, getting in trouble in the past and stuff like that, and seeing the support that I had with my family and everything, she granted me boot camp. And so, she gave me a chance because she could have locked me away for 5 years because my sentence was 2.5 for 5 years. She could have definitely locked me away for 5 years, but she gave me the opportunity to prove that I was worth not being thrown away. Right. And I definitely did, because like you were saying before about building your resume while you were incarcerated, even though they tried to get me out there cutting grass and I was just not with it. I ain't doing that. Like, I ain't cutting nobody's grass. But I did, when I went to boot camp, I did step in, and I didn't volunteer because, I had to have a job. So I tutored. I tutored people who were trying to get GEDs. Now, mind you, the majority of the boot camp was men, and for every platoon, it was like 1 or 2 women. There was only like, I think, 14 women out of the whole entire boot camp, and the rest are men. It's like, I don't know, maybe 100 men or something. I don't know. It's a lot of men. And so, I'm in the classroom with probably like 15 to 16 men who are trying to get their GED, and I'm helping the teacher tutor them on how to obtain their GED. And I actually got to sharpen my own skills, and things I learned for when I started to have children and my children were in school, and I was able to help them, with their math and stuff like that. I also took a course with Penn State, and I learned how to do fiber optics.
Got the cable hook up. Look at the people and tell them your number. Look at that camera and tell them this holiday season you can cut your cable. Get your gifts and have Joey hook that cable up for your neighbors next door.
Right. Put some cable in them babies' rooms.
Yeah.
But so you definitely should. The programs that they offer you, because I know I said that they will not rehabilitate you. You have to rehabilitate yourself. They do offer programs for you to rehabilitate yourself. You just have to do it. They're not going to push you to do it. You have to do it. You have to sign up. You have to go to those classes, and you have to complete them. You have to do it. See, in boot camp, it wasn't an option. You had you sign up, but once you sign up, there was no ifs, ands, or buts. You had to be there. So, but in prison, I don't think that they force you to go. Like, they put you on a call out. If ain't nobody coming to your door, knocking on your door saying, yo, you got to go. You have to go. You know what time you got to be there. You have to go. So they give you the opportunity to be responsible for your own life. And if you feel like you want to come home and be successful, you need to start there. You need to start a lot of things. You need to start eating right. You need to start exercising. You need to start praying and building your relationship with God. I cannot stress that enough. That's like the number one thing for me, and everything else, I promise you, falls into place. But, you have to rehabilitate yourself. You have to build on yourself. And I can't see you losing. Yeah. I really can't see you losing.
Yeah, that's good. So as we wrapped up that episode, I asked a question about 10-year goals. I don't know if you remember this. And y'all all looked at me. I was like, 10 years, I'm trying to worry about what's happening next year, right? But
shoot, I don't know. The way this society is going, who knows what 10 years is going to look like.
Right? Are we going to be here? We will be. So everybody's expertise is different. So Seasons was expungement support, reentry support. Cornell did the same thing, outreach. Seasons now going to jails. You're doing your drink catchers and the team summit, like to help out and help people. And we talked about different things. And Seasons talked about the expanded network of pardon hubs. So that's really cool. One of the things that we talked about was there are 25 pardon hubs exist across 30 pardon fellows in Pennsylvania's 72 counties. So we have 72 counties, and we barely have cracked the halfway mark. We haven't even cracked the halfway mark of hubs and pardon fellows. So pardon fellow is what Cornell is. So people who actually help, and we don't even have a fellow per county. That's crazy, right?
Yeah, that's
we're
ridiculous.
not getting it done. So we talked about just seeing that go to a different level, having one. You talked about community systematic change. You want to grow the community initiatives and those different things. So I want to conclude with one thing. One of the things that we talked about was the importance of teamwork, making the dream work, and moving as a unit. So, we are here in the holiday season, and you're preparing for next year. I want you to, look in that camera and, just let people know who've been following you all year, like through this podcast. You're about to go into your fourth year of business. Just share like why they should join Dreamcatchers in 2026 and why it's important. And we could talk about a little bit we talked about this earlier, but we can just share some of the ways just to prepare people so they can be thinking ahead at 2026, how they can get behind what you're doing, because partnership is important. So why don't you just talk to the people in the camera?
Yes. So next year, we've had this year to practice, and next year we're jumping on the ball. And I was talking to Justin earlier about, next month, January 2026, sitting down and actually planning out our calendar for next year. And so, volunteers are very much needed always. And families are very much needed always, because without the families, we don't have anything. Without the children, we don't have anything. So if you know somebody who needs help, don't be afraid to hit me up in the comments. Find me on Facebook. What am I? Joey Joe on Facebook. Find me on Instagram. It's Joey at 412. I think that's what it is. We'll put it in the comments. But, again, you can always find Cornell. You can always find Seasons. Anybody who's been on this podcast, you can find them on Facebook, on Instagram, and reach out to them, to ask them to reach out to me if you can't find me, or ask them for help, and we will get together and we will brainstorm and figure it out. However, again, volunteers are definitely always needed. Funding is needed. I cannot express how important Jesus Christ and funding is needed because, we're doing our best to hold things together. And as we get bigger, which we plan to, last year we did 10 families for Christmas, and this year we are at 15. And next year I hope to be at 20, 25, And so in order to put smiles on some of these children's faces, if not all of them, who are in need, we have to have funding to be able to purchase the gifts and be able to give the gifts out. But every little bit helps, whether it's $5, whether it's $1. Like, I'm not out here asking people to give hundreds and millions. I mean, if you got it,
not yet.
If you got it and you can spare it, we'll take it. But every little bit counts. 50 cents. Shoot, every little bit counts. There was something else that I wanted to say that you had said. Oh, okay. But before I go into that, let me just remember that. But yes, so next year, I can't believe it's the end of this year. We did a lot this year. We really did. And I shout out to all my guests that we've had this year. We're very appreciative for y'all, honestly, for sharing your story. And, people are loving this. And as we grow, we're starting to be recognized. Like, hey, you got a podcast. What's your podcast about? Send me the link. I want to see it. Or, I seen such and such's podcast, and, that's what's up. You gave them the opportunity to tell their story because they're such a dope person, and, their story needs to be put out there. And so on and so forth. But we need more people. We need more women. I can't stress that either. I don't know where y'all are at, and I'm trying to find y'all. And I want you to come on, and I want you to put it all out on the table. And I want y'all to let people know, like, this is where I was at, but this is where I'm at now. And it's okay, right? It's totally okay. I'm partnering. I'm in the process of partnering with a foundation called Tam Done, and hopefully partnering with this organization will open more doors because they're trying to push legislation. They're trying to get things put in place for people like myself who have felonies, even though, God has blessed me and I'm not really in a position where I'm needing a lot of assistance, but I'm in a position where I can push the assistance out to others. So, I'm putting my hands in that cookie jar because I want to see what it's about. We're going to do the Teen Summit again. We're going to do the book bag drive again. We're going to do the Sunday Fun Day again. Hopefully, we're going to run some of these programs a couple times, next year, 2026. So I'm excited and I'm looking forward towards it. I want to give y'all an update. That's what, I was trying to remember. I want to give y'all an update on my parting journey. And I know that I had said before that if I would have known about, what's the name of their program? PCSI. If I would have known about PCSI, that I would have, gone with them, because I went with Duquesne University, and I went with Duquesne University because I don't know. I just went with them. And so coming to find out that they only work during the time that they're in session with school, but PCSI is all year round. However, I want to update you guys, and I want to let you know that Duquesne Law is back in session, and we are in the process of presenting my file to the parole board. At the moment, we're gathering my statements from, people that are close to me who have seen my growth and who has been willing to put it on paper and to present it to the parole board. Yeah, we're moving. We're moving, and I'm very appreciative to Alex. She's amazing. I'm appreciative to the person who's in charge of that program. She reached out to me at the beginning of the beginning of the school year, and we just got the ball rolling. Right now, Alex is taking her finals. So good luck, my love. I hope you ace them all. I told you would ace them all. And yeah, once she's done with her finals, we'll be back at it and we'll be ready to send it off.
So what I hear you saying is your felony will be gone by the end of 2026. This time next year.
I hope so, yes.
Okay, we're going to try that again.
The reason why I say I hope so is because I don't know what the time frame is after we present it to the board.
Okay.
The process is a 4-year process.
Okay.
Or it could go be up to a 4-year process.
Gotcha.
But I'm already like 2 or 3 years, maybe 2.5 years into it.
Okay.
So I don't know if by the end of this year I will be felony free. I hope that I'll be felony free, but it might be 28, 27.
I'm about to say, you jumped a whole year.
27, yeah, it might be 27.
Remember, she ran an office. She can count. So. So, all right, everybody, that's it for this episode. We'll catch you next week or the week after or whenever this airs. And we appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Yes,
Peace.
yes. Love you guys. Be safe. And, yep, we're out.
And we're out.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking around to the end. I hope you heard my good news. Yes. They are going to send my application off about my pardon, y'all. Hopefully God will bless me and remove this stain off my background. We will be going into episode number 27 next week. So be blessed, stay safe, and we will see you for the next episode. Have a good weekend. Peace.